Welcome to NeoCon's 2025 CEU session, Color, Perception, or Deception. Presenting is gernaga. As a reminder, to earn CEU credits, attendees must stay logged on for 60 minutes and complete the 10-question quiz after the session.
Hello, everyone. My name is gernaga. I know it's not an easy name, but you should see the problems I have with it. I'm an interior designer, an artist, a teacher, and even a science geek. And today I will be presenting color, perception, or deception. These are the objectives, basic understanding of color in society, culture, emotionality, vision, basic color theory, psychological and physiological aspects of color, and marketing, very important, and culture. Light and colors actually do not exist. There is no actual light or color in this universe. And that would be a question I would normally ask if that's true or false, but it is true. Light and color are basically neural simulations formulated from electromagnetic energy that we see. Our eyes are like TV antennas that grab these electrical impulses, hitting everything in the eye and then traveling up the optic nerve and then ending up in the hypothalamus, which actually is the emotional center. In our brains, they work like television set, receiving these electromagnetic energy waves. And that's how we end up seeing color. So color, is it perception or deception? And could it be deception or perception? Out of just those three colors, blue, yellow, and red, we have a million different combinations of colors, tonalities, saturations, darks, lights, just out of those three colors. That is absolutely amazing. And how we can see all those colors. Marc Chagall said all colors are the friends of their neighbors and the lovers of their opposites. Have you experienced that? Charme challenge, and it's not what you're thinking. It's usually when I have an actual presentation with the audience. What I actually do is I ask the people that are sitting, or if you happen to be in a group right now with people that you do not know, look at a person, target a person that you do not know, and look at what they're wearing. And just by the colors that they're wearing, flash assess the type of personality that person is. As in happy, professional, quiet, serious, exciting, formal, and jot it down and keep it for later. That will be something that we will come back to at the end of the presentation. How we see color. Basic anatomy is the lens which filters and focuses the light onto the retina, which is made up of rods and cones, 120 million of them, and 60 million cones. That's quite a lot. And the intensity, saturation, and tone of the colors send impulses to the optic nerve, which creates certain chemicals and electrical activity for us to perceive the image and its colors in a way that we can understand it. And the reason we can see an object is that it reflects the color that it does not absorb. If we see red, it absorbs blue and green and yellow and all the other colors. If we see green, it absorbs blue and red, etc. That's how we see color. And basically the 12-point color wheel. In order to make sense of color, we have the color wheel, which represents a logical way of categorizing it, ranging from coolest to warmest, from lightest to darkest, and just from the three primary colors again, red, blue, and yellow, are all of the millions of colors, saturations, and tones that are created. Here's an example. There are 4 squares. Okay? They're all the same color. Now, let's put the exact same squares in 2 different colors. Do they look the same again? Or are they a little different? Same colors. Put them in other colors. Do they look the same? No. They're lighter, they're darker, the saturation is different. So the combination of colors is very important to know how to affect colors in a space. So we see the 4 squares, identical colors as we've seen. Their colors are quite and very mutable and can be very fickle. How many people do you know that are fickle? Colors are the same. This was an example how color perception can be manipulated. The 4 squares. So this shows us colors can change simply by being next to one another. Again, is it perception or is some kind of a devious deception? We as humans, we have trichromatic vision, which means we see blue, red, and yellow. Birds have tetrachromatic vision. You actually add another color within that, basically a green. Mammals, dichromatic vision. Black, white, grays with the colors mixed in. 2 or 3% of women have tetrachromatic vision. And here's a way of how colors actually react, or how people react to color. Red, it stimulates brainwave activity. It also has attraction to women for men. You think? It's a great way to really entertain something that is energized and passionate, like this square here, to have people engaging. But bees cannot see the color red. Pablo Picasso. Colors, like features, follow the changes of the emotions. Pink. It really calms nerves. Positive effect on the pineal gland. And could be a scene from The Shining, but it's not. This is actual prisons. They do have pink cells. What that does is for inmates that are uncontrollable, they will put them in a pink cell. Within 20 to 30 minutes, they will become calm. And they say color has nothing to do with emotionality or physiology. Well, the rugby teams in Europe have really got this down to a science. When their opposing team comes in, they put them in a pink room. So what do you think that does to the play? Pink was a favorite color for the hose worn by medieval men. Would we do it today? Maybe not. Orange. stimulates intellectual perception, and it helps with liver disorders, which is surprising, but the vibrations from orange actually help the liver function better. And the color orange was never named because of the orange that we know. It was Gilderhart. Some spaces that would work. A little overabundance of orange may be overstimulating. Could be fun. Not sure you want that orange in a kitchen like that. Can you imagine overstimulated conversations over breakfast? An attention getter. Let's sneak this in. Gold. It's less irritating to the nervous system than yellow, but very beneficial for pain in the joints and arthritis. So if you do have arthritis or joint pain, surround yourself with gold or the color gold, and it will help. Yellow, it relieves depression, helps tissue renewal and constipation. So if you're ever constipated, make sure you walk into a yellow bathroom. And the sad thing is, as early as 1270, there was anti-Semitic feelings in England, and King Edward decreed all Jews were a threat to the country and must wear a yellow star to identify them in public. Where do you think the 30s got this from? Green, it decreases respiration, increases concentration, henceforth the green room. So you want to rest? Green. You want to feel closer to nature? Green. What an awesome way of enhancing the environment. Blue lowers blood pressure, and it even balances insulin levels. So actually, diabetics put in a blue room, it does help them, surprisingly. And these are studies that they have been doing over the past 2 decades. Why do you think spas are relaxing? Pools, lakes, oceans. Well, maybe possibly buildings? Surprisingly, blue was used as a protection against witches who possibly disliked the color. Violet and purple eases migraines, calms recent shock and stress, and it's favorite color of adolescent girls. And purple togas were worn by the all-powerful Roman emperors. Green and violet, they are the only two colors that are considered both warm and cool. As much as today's trends tend towards white, it does encourage depression and body chills in isolation. So with all these trends going pure white, not quite sure about that. It doesn't exist in nature. Except for the winter. Gray. another trend in office interiors. It does help mitigate heavy metal toxicity if you have it, but too much of this color is demotivating. So we have offices that are overgrade and complaining of why our workers are not motivated. Let's think about that. Black. Extreme change and trauma that it helps with. But without black, there would be no color that would have depth, or mix it with everything and suddenly there's shadow. Kind of a monolith. Brown denotes dependability. It can make individuals feel secure and stable. So, how often have you sat in a car that was with brown leather that you felt secure and stable? Something to think about. O'Hare that I did work on needed stability. We have a lot of brown. According to a new study published in the journal Psychological Science, people around the world associate certain colors with the same emotions. Researchers from various institutions, including the Johannes Gutenberg University, Mainz in Germany, and the University of Lausanne, Switzerland, surveyed 4,598 people from 30 countries across 6 continents who were asked to assign up to 20 different emotions to 12 different colors. They found that some reactions are universal, which really surprised them. Red, for example, is linked to both love and anger around the globe, regardless of the culture. The field of color psychology includes plenty of speculation, but there are some widely accepted color emotion associations that have long been embraced by everyone from advertisers to decorators, including red's link to passion, to elicit positive feelings. Author and color consultant Leatrice Eisman says that some of those associations appear to be at least partly culturally dependent, but not wholly. Most people are capable of seeing approximately 1 million colors, thanks to the light sensitive cone cells in our eyes, meaning the reaction you have to pastel lavender tone could be quite different from the feelings evoked by a deep eggplant purple. White, for instance, tends to be associated with relief and purity in many Western countries, hence the white wedding dress. Not in all countries, but in some parts of Asia, white clothing is worn during mourning, which is why study participants in China were more likely to associate it with the sadness as well as relief. Other colors, more universal, emotional associations may be due to the influence of the natural world that surrounds us, says Eisman, who is the executive director of the Pantone Color Institute and head of the Eisman Center for Color Formation and Training. Hence, green, plants, trees, blue, sky, water. Wondering how your reactions to popular hues measure up? Here's what Eisenman says about these common hues and the feelings they inspire. Red. There's a reason people are drawn to a bright red teapot or an eye-catching red dress, Eisenman says. as what she calls nature's most prevalent fatal color. Think about the color of an open flame or certain poisonous creatures. Red tones are linked to pain, violence, and danger, but by extension, to love and excitement as well. Sometimes not the best combination. Yellow, bright yellow, which stimulates us like sunlight, is associated with happiness and joy. Sunny, cheerful emotions, Eisenman says. It's often used in children's toys. Some designers warn against using bright yellow in the bedroom because of its lively effect, potentially hampering sleep. Or anything very intense, bright yellow, like an acid yellow, is very irritating to the psyche. Blue is a favored color for corporate logos of all types, from airlines to tech and pharmaceutical companies. That makes sense, Eisenman says, considering that most people associate it with credibility, dependability, and a sense of assurance. But remember, blue is calming, so that makes a lot of sense. A reaction that may be in part be shaped by our earliest recognition of the blue sky's constant presence. It also associated with freshness and serenity. Green. We perceive shades of green more easily than any other color because of the way light reaches our eyes. And as the predominant color of foliage and vegetation, green both calms us and growing movement to incorporate green tones in settings like hospitals and assisted living facilities to help bring some of green's benefits in from the great outdoors. Many people choose green for their home offices as well. Brown. Inspired the fewest common emotions globally in the recent study. In the United States, Eisenman says, views on brown made a complete switch. In the 1990s, once associated primarily with dirt or dirtiness, brown is now a color people say is rich and delicious, like the color of chocolate or coffee. And another thing, red is the longest wavelength that we see. Now, let's get into health. The healthcare system of yesterday. What was it like? Beds, just one after the other? No privacy? No, everything just very sterile, very clinical. But today, they've found out what makes people better. And it's all due to color and presentation, which they did not know of then. A children's hospital. When you look at this, what's the first thing that you see? Do you see structure or do you see visual color? And then you see structure. Amazing how color can define structure or change structure. Is it perception or is it deception? A condo building that I designed for Cleveland, Ohio was in a place called Tremont, which had a variety of styles, everything from the 1800s to the modern time to the Deco time. It was across the board. So in order for the building, even though it was oversized to fit into the space, I thought that taking all the style and all the architectural periods and melding it into one building would work well. And it actually did, because the colors itself disseminates the intensity and the height and the magnitude of the building, and the different styles makes your eyes float from one area to another to make it look like it's all dissipated. Perception or deception. Now, color blindness. For men, it's usually red and green. But women also have color blindness, as rare as it may be, but they have it for yellow and violet. So, going back to how men see color and how women see color, remember how it was people usually are trichromatic and 2 or 3% of women are tetrachromats? So a guy may say purple, and the woman may say, oh, eggplant, plum, maroon, cayenne. Have you experienced that? Don't be shy. And for young children, everybody thinks that these awesome, wonderful, vivid colors are for young children. What do you think? Do you think that that's the case? Incorrect. For very young children, it's the pastels that are the most soothing and comforting for them, because the vibrant colors are only there to grab an attention. But if you overstimulate them, you will have issues with ADHD and other issues. But for children that are getting older, then that's fine. Oh, and what do you think about scrambled eggs and toast? Looks appetizing, doesn't it? Ooh, what about red eggs? What about blue eggs? So, how is your appetite for a nice plate of scrambled eggs and toast? Appetizing, right? What about the red eggs, the blue eggs and toast? Again, the color says nothing about taste or flavor of the food. So is color deceiving us? Remember the green eggs and ham from Dr. Seuss made it sound rather appetizing? In reality, I don't think that that's what these kids think. Quite an expression. Not quite sure Dr. Seuss had it right. But as a side note, blue is a very effective appetite suppressant. So move over, South Beach. Blue diet a comin'. So let's continue this mouth-watering junket. Does that look familiar to some of you? Many of you? Maybe all of you? Remember, red increases saliva production and yellow makes you happy. What if we changed it? Would you be more apt to stop by here instead? What about here? Maybe this might work. Oh, not sure about this one. They have it down to a science. But do the colors say anything about the quality or flavor of the product? So, again, is it perception or is it deception? So now logos. By adding color to your logo, web, presentation, etc. By what percentage does your brand recognition increase? How many say 10%? How many say 30%? What about 50%? The actual statistics is 80%. That's amazing. And this is strictly based on color. Okay, IBM. Are you more apt for this? What about Starbucks? Would this be inviting? Or would this? Now walk the yellow pages. Kind of boring. That adds the impact. So we have marketing and target. Would you be apt to go to there? Or would that entice you to go? Amazing. For marketing, this is how marketing actually works. Impulse shoppers are attracted to black, royal blue, red, orange. Check this out next time you're in an outlet mall. Budget shoppers are attracted by navy blue and teal. Stop by a bank. Traditional buyers of clothing stores. Pink, light blue, and rose. So by banks, what do you think? Navy blue and teal. Examples why you see certain colors on certain items in retail. And this is to show you, this is statistics that have been proven. Yellow grabs window shoppers. Orange creates a call to action. Now, when you go purchase something, pay attention to this and see how factual this is. Green, it prolongs shopping. Marketing is beauty products would be purple. And red, for clearance, creates urgency. Pink, markets to women and girls. Blue, relays security and trust. So how many banks have blue logos? And how many products that are luxury products have black markings or black tickets? So when considering a purchase of any kind, as we have, what percentage do you think color or visual appearance is placed first above all other factors? 45%? 25%? Or is it 85%? Surprisingly, 93% visual appearance alone. So once a decision to a purchase is made on a particular product or service, what percentage do you think then color is the primary reason? 80%? 90%? Or is it 100%? Surprisingly, only 85%. Because once the purchase is made, your brain kicks in to become a little more logical of what you're purchasing. Again, perception, or is it deception? So culturally, colors mean very different things for different people and different countries. Australian Aboriginals, land and earth. China, prosperity. India, purity for red. Russia, Bolsheviks and communism. Western, excitement, danger. New Zealand, nobility. Pink in Korea, is trust. Eastern, it's marriage. Western, love, females, and softness. Ireland in orange, religious. Western, creativity in autumn. Gold is global, wealth and prosperity. Now, yellow, you have Cherokee, trouble, strife. India, it's merchants. In Japan, it's courage. Ukraine, it's hospitality and benevolence. Saudi Arabia, strength. Green, Aztecs was royal family. India, faith of Islam. China, cheating wife and exorcism. Well, that's quite a combination. Blue, Eastern, wealth and self-cultivation. Western, depression, sadness. China, immortality. And violet, India, reincarnation. In Western, royalty. White, India, unhappiness. Ireland, religious faith. Eastern, funerals, children, and marriage. That's another interesting combination. Black, Western, funerals, death, bad guys. New Zealand, patriotic colors. Egypt, rebirth. Gray, Eastern, healthfulness, travel. Western, boring, pain, sadness, dull. Let's get back to the office suites. Brown, dependable, steadfast in Western, discourages sales in Colombia. This is an interesting fact. During the 10th century in France, the doors of traders and criminals were painted yellow. But though yellow has a multitude of meanings depending on what culture you're in. When Nero became emperor, the wearing of purple and even the sale of purple was punishable by death. Severe. When Marie Antoinette, if she had access to credit card, I'm sure it would be gold and black. Color also has a very intense, pronounced effect on our actions. It can create hazardous conditions as well as healthy and safe environments. Just like we discovered the sick building syndrome has made us aware of toxic effects of many interior elements and materials. And ergonomics has made us aware of furniture, which helps us to avoid injury. Though many may feel color is just some form of self-expression, psyche manipulation, or even some 60s hippie feel good affectation, all of which are valid. Though sadly, there is a very serious and litigious side to color. Here are but a few examples of color as the cause of accidents and injuries in many environments, which we all should be aware of. Factory worker reaches for an emergency lever and it's color-coded incorrectly, reaches for the wrong one. What do you think happens? The elderly. Bright colors in patterns. They will perceive, because of the visual acuity, they will perceive that at different levels and advancing or descending. So their motor responses are according to that. They trip and fall to the floor. An office worker working intensely at the computer every day, just like a lot of us are. But the color behind the computer is this intense yellow. Over time, her perfect vision is impaired. Then you have an assembly situation where everybody's on an assembly line. I know interior designers want to add some fun and spunk into mundane works. But as the worker is concentrating on the assembly line and peripherally, there's a bright colored flag or wall or something, and it gets distracted, injures her hand. So let's go to now perception. I call this the suits. Attorneys, awesome. You look at them and you definitely feel a sense of stability and they know what they're doing. What if they came and dressed in this? Would you still feel the same? Perception or deception? Has it anything to do with their quality? Investment bankers. Again, you look at them and you're like, oh yeah, they're going to really invest well for me. What if they came dressed in this? Would you give them the same opinion? Politicians. Blue, red, and white. What if they came dressed in this? Do you think you'd be okay with them running your country? Chicago. Intense meeting. What if Rahm Emanuel came in this? Would he be considered a serious mayor? So is all this perception or deception? Some of the projects that I've worked on, this was an IT company. They wanted a lively discourse room where people would be very intense, argumentative. The Red Room. Aetna Insurance Company. Warsaw. Cafeteria. A residence. They wanted their space to be totally open, but visually, they wanted the space to look like it was separated. So, chose colors and bandwidths in order to separate the spaces visually. So they still had an open space, but felt like they were in different spaces. Creating a pathway, a walkway, visually. A client wanted to show off the room, but they were right next to a lake, but they also wanted to kind of bring in the lake. The islands on the ceiling and the focus on the painting. Beautiful house, nothing wrong with it, but they really wanted to stand out without it shouting. Adding a little form. An 1800s home. They wanted it to reflect the time period and its colors. Did that, but in a way that was not traditional, but the colors were. Office Max, they wanted to redefine themselves. Office Max of the future. Also the interiors of Office Max, the retail. Much better focused. How color brings you in and have you spend time. A new home, and they wanted a personality in the home. Definitely gave them personality. They wanted their fireplace to be the focal point of the area. Not only a focal point, but it brought in some fun. Typical Tudor in Wisconsin. They wanted to make it look as if it was one whole unit rather than separated by the colors. Drama. Some fun. As an artist, these are paintings that I've done. Definitely using color and combinations. Some interesting buildings. How color can create a vibe and a space. A little art on the street. Now this is a little fun. We'll leave you with these cats. I'm sure you will never forget. So back to the Chairmate Challenge. If you had the ability to be in a group of people that you did not know, and you did jot down what your impressions were just strictly based on their color, exchange it with your chairmate and see how many were correct in their perception or how many were very different. Okay, so we've had this colored junket that we've crossed. In conclusion, as prevalent as color is, most people overlook its importance and even its necessity. But statistics beg to differ. And you, as a designer, obviously agree with that. When people consider decisions on design, product, a home, accessories, going on vacations, or even an opinion about a person, out of smell, texture, or visual appearance, what percentage do you think people base decisions on visual appearance? And when they actually make that purchase or befriend, as we've said before, what percentage do you think people base their purchases or befriending on visual appearance? We've already gone through that, but just a reminder. So, in conclusion, is color showing us what we perceive the space, object, or person to be? Or is color quietly deceiving us into a very false sense of perception? Something to think about. Thank you for attending. I greatly appreciate it. This concludes the Continuing Education Systems program, and hope you have learned awesome, or at least had some fun. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this session. Before logging off, please complete the 10-question quiz via the Take Quiz button. Remember to hit submit. Once completed, for AIA members, attendance is recorded and reported for 1 LU or HSW credits. For IDCEC members, attendance is self-reported. For any questions, please contact NeoCon CFP@themart.com.